So I just watched Castlevania, Nocturne, and my goodness, I had to go back and watch the first season of the OG, Castlevania. Why? Well, let me just put it this way. Rotten Tomatoes lied with this. And that's a big old lie. To be honest, the user reviews are right. When you think of the OG Castlevania, you should think of Denis Villeneuve. You know how he produces his movies, you know how he directs his movies, you know how all the characters in his movies they have depth, and the movie and his production generally look good, and they pay attention to everything. That is the first Castlevania, and you think of Denis Villeneuve. When you come into Castlevania Nocturne, I need you to think of Michael Bay. If you've not watched it, I just need you to prepare yourself and think of Michael Bay, whereby a lot of explosion, a lot of action, but the characters just generally lack depth. The primary villains lack depth, and you'll have fun with it, but at the end of it all, you not feel like you've watched something substantial. You not feel like you've watched something that has weight in it. Let me put it this way. If you've never flown first class, business class is the best that you've ever experienced, and you never truly understand the awesomeness of being first class. And so, with this show, since we've experienced first class when it comes to the first Castlevania, you kind of feel that, as much as this is not a bad show, if you've never seen the first Castlevania, you'll have a lot of fun with this particular show. You'll absolutely love it. You'll absolutely enjoy it. But unfortunately, we had a better product. We had a better first class. We experienced first class. And with this show, the action is second class. The artworks are second class. But the writing and the characters, all of that is stuff from economy class. So there's just that conflict. It doesn't feel as well written as the first one. It doesn't feel as driven as the first one. The characters lack depth as compared to the first one. Everything feels rushed. It feels like they had so much to cram into one story that it just lacks, it just lacks depth. You don't want to follow these people. With the first Castlevania, and yes, I'm going to compare the two of them because we have two products from the same studio, from the same streaming service. So we actually have the right to compare them. When you watched the first show, the first season had 4 episodes, and with the 4 episodes, I was enthralled. I wanted to see more. I wanted to follow these people. I wanted to know what would happen to these people. I actually cared for these people. 4 episodes. Now you had 8 episodes, and still I didn't care. None of these characters was as good as one of the characters in the previous Castlevania show. And I don't know about the game, and I don't care about that, because for me it was just about the animation. So all of the 8 episodes were not able to give me a character that I wanted to follow, or a character that I truly cared for. The same way that, think of Isaac. Isaac was far more an interesting character than any character that you've seen here. Camilla was more interesting than any character in this particular show. So I want us to look at this from a business angle. Yes, is this movie woke? Some of you may be screaming, oh, it's woke, or it's not woke, or you're hating on this. No, I'm not here to talk about being woke or not being woke. I don't care. I don't want us to talk about the American politics of the culture wars and the gender wars. We're not here to look at it from that point of view. Let's look at it from 1, a business point of view. Number 2, we look at it from just a storytelling point of view. Now, from a business point of view, this is a genius move. Why? Here's what Hollywood does. Hollywood, you come up with an idea of a show, and they'll not be sure about it. They'll not be confident about it. Think of The Mandalorian. Think of Castlevania Season 1. They'll be like, okay, you can put it out there. We don't really care about what you do. Just do your thing. And so the creators of the show will go and create a show, and it will be successful. People will love it. And then they'll go like, okay, Season 2. And when Season 2 comes in, that's when now the studio heads and all these other people start going like, we think that thing is working. Let's see what's working about it. If, for example, when you look at The Mandalorian and the first Castlevania as an example, it may have a bit of, it may be a bit male-centric, or in another case, female-centric. If there was any other production that was female-centric, it may be dominated by one single gender. But because these are streaming services, they want to get as much viewership as possible. So as now the show develops and they go into either season 3, season 4, or they do a spin-off, now the studio will come in and say, we want this to, now because we feel that the previous show was male-centric, we feel that we need to make something for the women. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay, as long as it's good. Because when I was watching this show, it's a very female-centric show. Now, is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing. The character of Anit and Marie were pretty interesting characters. There was this hench woman who was also pretty interesting. But they took that and decided to try to push every other thing away from, the story. We are so female-centric that we don't want a lot of all this other shit around this. So you feel that the show sometimes is deliberately trying to push away some characters because they don't want them to enter that space. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Papa Legba. Yeah, that for me was one of the most annoying things about this show. There's an aspect of a character called Anit. Annette is from Haiti, and if you know about Haiti during the slave trade and black magic voodoo stuff, Ogun, the dance was there. The dance was a prominent part of that. Papa Legba was a prominent part of that. And we don't actually, Papa Legba is reduced to a projection, which I was like, no, we don't need to see Papa Legba. But they could have done something. If this was in the OG Castlevania, they would have definitely done something with Papa Legba. They would have made him a part of this show in a much cooler way than what we get to see. So for me, that was one of my biggest problems, because first of all, we don't see a lot of dance and the weirdness of voodoo magic during that particular period, because it was not as sanitized as what they presented. They presented something that is much cleaner. It lacks the darkness that came with voodoo during that particular time, and it shows us a much more, that word that I used, a sanitized version of voodoo. I would have wished that the concept of voodoo would have played a part in this particular show. So yeah, that was one of those things I was watching. I was like, what are you doing with this? I was going with what you've started to do, but now it's not working. The other thing that I did not like was the mother characters, still in the women part. And I'm not hating on women. It's what we have been given. It's the show that we've been. I'm looking at the show. I have nothing against female characters. I have nothing about making movies that center on women. It's just when writers and creators start taking the audience for a ride, start taking the audience for granted, because this is clearly the writers and the production taking us for granted. Because how can you have all the characters motivated by the death of their mothers? I know it's not supposed to be a big deal, but they could have. I was screaming, man, do something better with that. And so with this, if you look at the main character, if you look at the character of Marie, the end of the story is her mom getting killed. The character of Richter Belmont, her mom gets killed. The character of Anit, her mom gets killed. So I'm like, the character of Olarox, his lover gets killed. So it's pretty generic. This felt more like a soap opera. It had a soap opera touch to it, whereby it's all about revenge and me losing someone who was so special to me and mothers. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just wish they would have done something unique with that particular story. It didn't make sense to me that you can have all these people having almost the same motive. That is lazy writing. That's where you usually go like, we need to do, in fact, if you were to just lift off this character, it's like a duplicate of one character, but to change one or two things. Their stories all felt almost the same. The other thing that I did not like, I did not talk about what I liked. I'm going to talk about that at the end of the show. The other thing that I did not like is that they literally had to ship characters from different continents to come and tell the story in France and talk about the French Revolution. Now, did they do something unique with it? They made an attempt, but oh my goodness, that this show reminds you what the meaning of a revolution is. It's repeated over and over. Freedom, freedom, let's go fight for freedom, rights, we want to rule ourselves, or you are the oppressors. They literally spoke about it over. Characters were repeating that statement over and over, especially Marie and Annette. They kept repeating they kept telling us the definition of revolution over and over and over again. What did I expect? I expected them to do something unique with that. I mean, they talk about revolution even into the church when they're talking to another character that I was like, why do they have this character here? It's the Forge Master, but why the hell is this character here? It's too convoluted. The priest, the father of Marie. When they're talking to, when Marie is talking to the priest, her father, they talk about revolution, and Marie keeps repeating the meaning of revolution, and I'm like, we know the meaning of revolution. We don't need you to keep telling us about it. And we know that during this period, the revolution happened with the French people. I wish they would have focused on the people and the need to have that revolution. So it didn't feel for me like a revolution. It just felt like we didn't see the revolution boil or come up. We just had people tell us about it. It was more of exposition. You get? So that was the other thing that I did not like. And this thing of having to bring characters they literally had to bring people from a different continent to serve this particular story or in this particular show. It should have been called Castlevania, Our Road to Freedom or something, Our Road to Revolution, or The Road to Freedom or something, because it feels less like a vampire story. Yes, you have vampires, but it just so convoluted that sometimes it feels political, but then unlike the previous show whereby they went into depth about these concepts of politics and lives and people and just the dynamic of good and evil within a society, that at no point did you not understand what was at stake. But with this, there's so much talking about a revolution, and we don't actually get a scope of how the normal people feel or how it's affecting the normal people. So it was weird. And then the church has always been treated by Castlevania as this overall villain in quotes. It's a really bent and demented sect that is out to destroy people, but not as on your face and straightforward as they did here. Because the priest in this particular show is a Forge Master. But if you look at the OG Castlevania, all these people were evil. All these priests and church people were evil. But then they were not like outright on your face evil. There was a sense of manipulation. There was a sense of smart manipulation that came with those priests. They used religion to manipulate the people. But here, the clergy, and the only man of God in this show, he's corrupt. And it's not like he's trying to be smart about it. It's on your face smart. He's working with the bad guys. He's working with the evil on your face. It's not like they're trying to do something unique with that particular character. They're not trying to, have a blanket on top so that they can mislead you or, leave you with suspense as to, is this a good guy or is it a bad guy? No, it's obviously that he's working with the bad guys. And that for me was weak, I mean, remember the first 2 seasons, the first 8 episodes, season 1 and season 2, because there are 4 episodes, the way the clergy, the priests were introduced, and how they were able to use religion to manipulate people and get away with what they wanted. That element is missing in this. Yeah, and now, the other thing that I think it will bother more people if you've watched the first Castlevania is the villain. The primary villain, the devourer of light, the messiah of the vampires. I'm like, okay, I get the idea, and again, it had to be a woman, female-centric. But the thing that they did not do, as much as she looks cool, she lacked depth. This is like Camilla, but a much weaker version of Camilla, because she had no personality. She did not have a background. We did not know her motivation. We did not know her turmoils. There was, even with her team, the other henchwoman, the one with the purple hair, she looks really cool, but there's nothing about her. We don't know who she is. We don't know her inspirations. We don't know her motive. She's not tormented. There's nothing about her that makes us want to watch this person, because a good character is a character that you truly hate because you understand their motive, you understand how dark they are, or you understand just how bad they are. And a good example is Isaac. Isaac was a good character, but sometimes he was dark, but sometimes because of his loyalty and his focus on what he wanted, Isaac was a very complicated character. So and sometimes he was a bad guy, and sometimes he was like, oh, actually this is a good guy. Camilla and her sisters, three very complex characters. Interesting, you understand their motive, and you understand each of them is very distinct in terms of personality. They have their need, they have their drive, there's what they want. There's one who's brute, there's one who's calculating, there's one who's quiet but very effective in what they do, but believes in some concept that are related to humans. But this villain and her hench people are just two-dimensional. They're flat. There's nothing to them. You don't know. If I were to ask you, we've seen Castlevania Nocturne. What's the primary motivation for our main villain? Is it to just create darkness all over the world? Is it to create darkness all around the world? And it goes back to Michael Bay and Denis Villeneuve. Our primary villain is just an overpowered character who cannot be taken down by anyone. Like any Michael Bay movie, is just that over-the-top, big, extremely powerful, not even smart. That for me was the biggest disappointment. She's not even smart. She does not engage with people on a higher level. Like Camille, again, I go back to Camilla. Camilla would engage Dracula. Camilla would engage everyone that she was interacting with. So you got a feeling that you were actually talking about a person. Camilla could emote and react to situations. You could understand how she felt about stuff. This character, I'm just like, okay, I'm watching a bad guy. She looks like a bad guy. She's as big as a bad guy. She transforms into something that's supposed to be badass. And then someone loses her mother. And I'm like, oh my gosh, come on, people. Now, her henchwoman, the purple lady, fantastic looking character. I hated the way she died. Yes, they introduced Alucard during that particular part, but I hate the way that she was killed. It was too again. It just happened. And then that's something wrong with also this show. It just happened. But death led me to something else that annoyed me about this show. Now, this was like the top notch. Every action set pieces in this show is designed to set up something. Yes, the OG Castlevania, most of the action set pieces were a consequence of something. Someone did something or said something or triggered something that led to a big action set piece. You get? This was more of an action set piece, then they set something up so that you can play later on during the show. You can, with the opening scene with the Richter and Olax and Richter's mom, that action set piece is designed to have someone killed so that someone can face this other person and go like, I don't want to kill you, so that they can later on. Because if Olax had killed Richter during that period, we wouldn't have this show. You understand? All this would have been over. If you would have just decided after killing the mom, spoiler alert, if after killing the mom, you would have decided to also kill the kid, we wouldn't have the Belmont, we wouldn't have this show. And so you get more of that. Even when Belmont got his powers, his magical powers, something that was not even hinted within the show. For the first 6 episodes, for the first 5 episodes, it was never hinted. And during this one period when he meets his grandfather, something happens and suddenly he has magical powers. Suddenly he's all powerful. And the whole thing you think like, oh, this is appropriately set up. You know why? Because during the same period, that's when the devourer of light comes into play. So immediately you know what's going to happen. You know, they've established this character to be powerful so that this character can face that character at a particular period. Every scene that you saw with action, even the action set piece in Haiti when Anit's mother gets killed, designed to set up the owner of the farm as Anit's primary motivation. There's a character called Edouard. He's a musician and he comes to France with Anit, Annette. He comes to France with Annette, and so this character, something interesting happens to him, and I'm like, yeah, that's okay. But everything that led up to him becoming that was a mistake by Annette, you know. And whatever action set piece happens during that period is designed to set up Edward as the person who sings during a particular period, and it's designed so that it can drive Annette to try and rescue him during what particular period, so that something else can, so that a particular action set piece can happen, so that that particular action set piece can show us that whatever Edward is doing with the music has effect on ABCD. So every action set piece is not actually, it's just there to set up something else. You don't feel like it's the end tail of a consequence. There are no, you don't feel the consequence aspect of an action set piece. You don't feel, apart from one scene whereby these vampires try to go and capture Marie in a forest, because that's a consequence of the purple henchman discovering that the priest had a daughter. So that leads him to send vampires to go and get the daughter. You get? So that's a consequence. That's an action set piece based on a consequence of a certain knowledge. That was the only unique thing about it, and that actually made sense. So apart from that, Annette as a character, I mean, she's supposed to lead, and I'm sorry, this may seem a bit obvious. This is something that I was like, what is this show doing? Annette, she's the one who, because of a lack of emotional control, led to the capture and death of Edward. Because they go to this vampire mansion. They go to this vampire place, and Annette sees the owner of the plantation and overreacts. And so during that moment when she overreacts, they get noticed, and so they're chased away, and then Edward is captured, and whatever happens to him, he's killed. And so later on, we see Annette trying to lead a revolution, trying to inspire people to go into a revolution. This is the same person who led to something bad happens because of her lack of control over her emotion. She led to the capture of her friend. So I'm like, even Marie should have looked at this character and gone like, yo, this is not the right person to talk to these people, because of those kind of small mistakes. There are other mistakes when they're trying to rescue particular characters, and I was like, yo, I know you're trying to push Annette, the show producers, you're trying to push Annette, but she's not treated that like she can actually lead a revolution. Her motivation is not based on that. Her motivation was based on trying to get revenge for the death of her mom to one specific person who she actually kills him. And so, in terms of starting a revolution, I would have gone with Marie, or I would have gone with the mom rather than Annette. So those are some of the small things that I do not like about the show. It's poorly paced. There's a lot of things happening within a single show. Oh my gosh. I also need to talk about Edward, the singing creature demon. And it was an interesting idea. But I need you to go back to season 4? Season 4 of Castlevania, when Isaac is talking to one of the creatures. The way he initiated that conversation, and they got to have that philosophical conversation, was far more interesting than Eduardo trying to sing in this particular show. Because as much as Eduardo was singing, that was not used any way to affect the story. Yes, at some point you go like, yo, it's happening. Yo, so it has affected this person and this creature and this creature, so it may happen to all the creatures. No, they don't go there. They duck away from that. So the ability for him to sing is used more of a score in order to elevate a scene. It's like the background music. As in, him singing is used to, you know, the way you have music behind a particular epic scene. So his singing is used that way. It's not affecting the story. It's just for us as the viewers to understand that, yo, that's Edward singing, and he's singing over a particular set piece. But he's not utilized to actually do anything that affects the story. You get? You understand? If you are to remove Edward, it will have no effect on the story. Why? Because it wasn't an important part of the story. It wasn't really an important part of the story. In fact, it doesn't add any dimension to the creatures, because we saw it done better in Castlevania, the last Castlevania with Isaac and that particular creature, and it was more philosophical and had more depth and weight than what they were able to do here. So I would want to go on and on about this particular show. Even when you look at the artworks look totally different. You know what I did? You know why I noticed that the artwork was totally different? When I went into it, I got used to it and I thought, wow, this doesn't look so bad. But when I went back and watched the OG Castlevania, there was a stark difference between the two. Castlevania, the original one, looks better in terms of the quality of painting that we have. Scenes look like paintings, and they are more dynamic, and they are just better looking. The characters line and forms are well defined than the characters' styles in this particular show. The characters in this show don't look really good as compared to the first one. Yes, if you've never watched the first one, you won't have a problem with it. If it's been a while since you watched the first one, you will not have a problem with it. But if you put them side to side, they look totally different. One looks like it was done really quickly. The other one looks like they took their time, because the artworks look fantastic. They look like paintings. The castle looks fantastic. The houses, the lighting looks good. The character definition looks better. The line works feel cleaner. The shadows look and feel cleaner than Castlevania Nocturne. So, in terms of quality, Castlevania OG still is on top in terms of the look and production value than this. Even the creatures look different. We have like 5 variations of creatures in this particular story. The OG Castlevania, they had so many different creatures, and they were more terrifying than the creatures that we have here. Yes, in terms of design, some creatures may look terrifying, but it lacks that variation that would represent terror. Because in the OG Castlevania, we had creatures which had better teeth that looked like dinosaurs, that looked like snakes. There was a much bigger variations of creatures. Here we have close to 7 different kinds, close to 5. Here we have like 5 variations of creatures. They don't feel like they try to expound on that. So basically that's it. That's how I felt about the show. Whatever Rotten Tomatoes is saying, it's a lie. And when it comes to work in terms of LGBTQ whatever, I'm not pro or against. Sexuality is people's decision. You do what you want to do with yourself. I really don't care. But if I were to compare again the OG versus this one, there was a gay character within. Whatever they did with him, that gay character was there to drop a book, be a motivation to. That character was there to be Richard's motivation, story motivation. He was there to drop a book and represent the LGBTQ people, because representation here is extremely strong. So it's there, and it's not as cleverly done as how it was done in the OG Castlevania. That's Castlevania is where it's when I saw like Isaac as as a gay character, but it wasn't done like, look, this is a gay character, look at him, he's a gay character. No, they created an awesome person. They created a fantastic individual who just happened to be gay. He was not this gay character and his arc was based on him being gay. No, he had motivations, he had drive, he had all these things. But this other thing about him being a part of being this in sexuality was just a small by the way. So you get to actually follow the person, whether you are pro or anti. You go like, oh, I might have a problem with this, but I love this person. This person is an awesome person. But in this, his motivation is based on the fact that he is, gay. He has another character who is supposed to be his lover, and they delve deep into that. Now, is there a problem with that? I just felt that they could have done it better. They could have been smarter with it. They could have written it better. They could have written the dialogue better. They would have created a situation whereby the fact that he is whoever he is has a bigger impact on the story. Alucard, he had a bisexual scene in the previous Castlevania movie. But remember how it was handled and how it was told? It it wasn't the fact that he was this that made it interesting. It was the fact that these people tried to kill him, and he later killed them, and now he felt that loneliness come back to him because he lost friends, Rona. So that had weight to it. It wasn't the idea that he was that. For us to know that he was that was a product of, he had friends. It was a product of something. It wasn't there because we need to have this in this particular show. We need to only have to show him that he's like this. It served the story. It was there for a purpose. For this, you felt like Olorox is just that for the sake of being that. They needed a gay character, and so they placed him there. And they tried to make it a bit more obvious for the viewers and for them. Again, a business move whereby you need to bring in more people to watch the show as possible. What they did is they did what Hollywood likes to do, whereby the fans really love this, let's take it and make it for the general audience, let's make it for everyone else. And so you end up alienating the true people who came for your show in the first place. And yes, Rotten Tomatoes is lying. So basically that's it. That's my review of, it's not even a review, I think it's more of a rant, because outside the action set pieces, everything was poor. There was a story, there was an interesting story, but it lacked depth. So that's my basic review final review is that the OG Castlevania was more of, as I started saying, was Denis Villeneuve, where you're given characters, you're given action. You go there and you understand the people, you understand the culture, you understand everything about the story that they're trying to tell you. Even the minute characters, you find yourself following them, being interested in who they are, looking at them and understanding them, loving the villains, hating the good guys, loving the good guys. They take you through different emotions based on just fleshing out their characters. That's Denis Villeneuve. Then there you have Michael Bay, who is just like, just give them action, diversity, inclusion, throw everything in. We want to reach to more people. And I understand that. You know why? Because it's a business for Netflix, and they want as many people as possible to watch this, so that they can either be disappointed and go back to the first one, or just get an idea that there's another Castlevania production. So if you've never seen the first Castlevania and you're watching this and you think this is the best thing that you've ever seen, go and watch the first one. Yeah, you'll see that stark difference. I mean, the first one had the best villain. Oh my gosh, I will keep on going about this. The first one had a better villain, a way better villain with Dracula, a way dynamic villain with Dracula, a way likable character. I didn't mean to hate. Dracula was meant to be hated because he's a villain, but you empathized with him. They made you like the character and understand the character where he was coming from. They made you hate the church in that particular show. This one they tried, but you feel that everything was designed for, was designed to serve the general modern Netflix viewer. So basically that's it. If I was to give this out of 5, I would give this a 2 out of 5. Yeah, I would give the first Castlevania a 4.5 out of 5. So you understand the difference. You can see the difference. And Rotten Tomatoes lied. So basically that's it. If you're still here, thanks for being here. And let me know what you think about the show. Remember to always watch what you enjoy and enjoy what you watch. Watch what you enjoy. Don't just go into this Castlevania movie because Rotten Tomatoes is telling you that the critics are saying that this is 100%. It is not 100%. That's why I like saying, watch what you enjoy. Don't just go into something because either I'm saying that it's cool or it's not cool, or I'm saying that it's this or this. Just be very particular about what you enjoy and enjoy what you watch. After you figure things out, go out there and enjoy what you watch. So basically that's it. Thanks for watching. I have more reviews of Loki. Loki is coming up. Ahsoka is coming to an end. I'll have a review for that. Gen V is out. I'll have reviews for that. The Creator, I'll have a review for that. So you might as well like the video and comment if you want to tell me what you thought about Castlevania, and follow me so that you can see all those reviews that will come up as we move on into October. So thanks for watching, and I shall see you. I mean it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. I know it was a long rant, but thanks for being here. I shall see you on the next one.